Today, we have the great pleasure of having our good friend Blake Reed Evans. Blake is a stylist, he's a hair color specialist, social media expert, and he owns a salon called Sheer Art Salons in Tampa, Florida. He loves an environment where he can be passionate and creative and precision with his skill. And he is the kind of teacher that tends to like to push us outside of our box. So please, in the box, let's welcome our good friend and Sandy ambassador, Blake Reed Evans. How are you,
Hey,
Blake?
what's up, everyone? Hey, Andrew, how are you?
So good, man. So good to see you. So happy to have you on the channel today. And we are just ecstatic and ready to see what you have for us.
Awesome. So thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm so stoked to share with you. Give us a heart into the chat if you have ever had a guest come in and they're like, I don't know how to style my fringe or I don't know how to style my bangs. Because I'm going to send a big heart right out to all of you because I've totally been there. Or go ahead and drop another heart into the chat if you've ever been with a guest and they have a fringe and you're like, how do I apply color to this person? How do I accentuate their hair? How do I change the placement up? Because I think we've all been there where we've been personally victimized by weird growth patterns in the hair when we're trying to style them or cut them, or when it comes into coloring the hair, the density can be kind of weird. And do I take it lighter? Do I take it darker? I'm glad we have some friends that have been there before. I'm glad I'm not alone in this situation because I've totally been there too, which is why I'm excited for us to talk about styling first of all. One of the big things that I've really learned in terms of styling the fringe is we're just going to get it wet so that we can actually do something, is really making sure to understand that we need to make sure that we're starting this area when it is really, really wet. So blast drying a bang area isn't necessarily the best approach. The big reason is because wherever the hair is the shortest, it is going to dry the quickest. So wherever the hair is the shortest, it's going to dry the quickest. So when we are taking our guests from the shampoo bowls over to our stations, and then we're ready to start blow drying, we need to get into the fringe area with product first on wet hair, then we can go in and blow dry. So for today, what we're going to do is we're going to keep it nice and light around the fringe area. I'm going to be using Redken's quick blowout spray. It's really great to help speed up the blow drying process. Smells super, super good, but it has 450 degrees of heat protection. But key thing here is light product in the fringe area. This is a great product. And then if your guest has any little bit of frizz, now you're just going to take the littlest bit. I'm going to show into the camera, put on my black shirt. There you go. You're going to take just the littlest bit to the fringe area, and we're going to focus that product just towards the tips of the hair, and we're avoiding the root area. Because the hair is shorter and because it lives on the forehead, a fringe area, that means that that area gets oily quicker. So we need to be very light on our decision of products. Awesome. I'm so glad to see everyone here. Now, if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm taking the wide side of my Samvia comb and raking the product through. Now, this is a good tip for any type of styling, is to make sure that you comb the product through or brush the product through so that every single hair on the head can enjoy the benefits of the product. So you brush everything through, every hair can enjoy the benefits of the product. And that's a verbiage that I use with my guests too. I like the wide side tooth of the comb because it's going to get through all of the hair and making sure that every single hair enjoys the benefits of that product. Now, we're going to come in first and we are going to get control of cowlicks in the fringe area, because I think we've all been there with a guest where they are just like, their cowlicks are out of control. So let's get this over here. And so the method that we're going to be using is a crisscross technique. So what we're going to do is we're going to come forward, go over, come down, go over, and we're going to repeat that process until the roots are dry. Once the roots are dry, you're going to be good to go. So we're going to go ahead and get going. So the big thing is to really focus on the root area of the hair. So if there is a really intense cowlick, you really want to make sure that you go through with the fine side of the comb. The reason why you want to go through with the fine side of the comb is because it is going to give more tension. More tension means more control. More tension also means more shine. So I'm just going through, and I'm really just focusing on the root area. Now, if you're like, hey, Blake, I'm worried about burning my guest, that's a good fear to have. But as long as you're just coming through with your comb and the blow dryer and the brush are always moving, you are going to not burn them. The second that you camp out too long, it ends up burning them. Thank goodness this is a mannequin, or else I totally would have burned her. But we're just going to come through, and it's all about crisscross. This is a technique called confusing the root. And this is something that Sam actually taught me a really long time ago. But you're just really getting control. And if they have a really thick fringe, don't be afraid to really get in there and separate it to really get control of that root area. Because once you get that control, perfect. This is where you can start doing the shaky thing, where you're just getting, now you can start blast drying the hair. But the key thing is we need to get those roots 100% dry from sopping wet hair to really make sure that we get control, because that hair will dry first. So we're going to come in, and then I'm going to actually come through with my paddle brush. And as you can see, this Artist Series paddle brush is extremely well loved. It's one of my most used tools in the salon in terms of blow drying hair. The reason why I like it so much is because it has the boar bristle in it, but then also has nylon bristles in it too. So you're going to get a lot of heat, but also a lot of shine out of it. Then we're going to come through, get that out. And then with the paddle brush, we're going to come through and we're going to blow dry this. Now, here's the thing. We need low elevation. Like, what is elevation? Elevation is an up and down movement. The more you lift the hair, the more volume you're going to get out of it. The more you lift the hair, the more volume you get out of it, means that the more the cowlicks are going to win. So we're going to come through, and we are really going to make sure that we keep a low elevation while we're working in the fringe area, so that we can maintain control of this section. Now, if you notice, I'm not using a round brush to do the styling, because the big thing about round brushes is whenever they get into the hair, they're going to create elevation for you. And elevation in a fringe area, a lot of the time, can actually make those cowlicks or growth patterns come back to life. So I hope that is helpful for all of you. You know, exactly. Catherine sharing with us on YouTube, thin, dry hair with cowlicks. Yeah, it's one of those things that you really need to make sure that you get control of it from the beginning, no matter if their hair is thick or super, super thin. And then you can get control of it there. And what's great is you can go in and do your detailing for your haircut or things like that. This mannequin will be back in a second. She's going to go into her green room while we grab our next model. So this mannequin has a little bit of a bowl cut. So what we're going to actually go through and do is do a quick style refresh utilizing our flat iron. So what we need to make sure is that we always prep the hair with heat protection. This is iron shape 11, and we're just going to come through and mist it through. Awesome. Rosario is sharing with us that she loves her Sanvia blow dryer. Me too. I've used every blow dryer I think that exists on the planet at this point. And my Sanvia dryers are always my favorite and always my go-to. And I'm not just saying that because I'm affiliated with a company now. Like genuinely, I've used like every blow dryer, and these are the Sanvia dryers are always my favorite. And I just love that they came out in the ruby red color. They're just so awesome. It even says like limited edition on it. There you go. You can see everything there. It's just so fun for the holidays. My clients are really enjoying it. So now what we're going to do is we are going to come through and we're going to get a lot of control over this fringe area. So you can see that there are some bins within the hair. So what I would traditionally do before this was shared with me is I would come through and do everything in flat ironing on a horizontal to get full control of the area. But what I realized is that when I'm styling hair and I'm flat ironing it, these can leave those little bumps in the hair. So the trick is actually to go through and to flat iron the hair vertically, because what the vertical sections are going to do when you are flat ironing is it's going to help make the hair lay lean. So I'm going to come through with my Sanvia sleeker iron, and I love this iron. If you've hung out with me before, you know how much I love it. One, as a colorist, it has a heat, a color treated setting, and you can see it there. And it's also rounded on the edges. So what that means is it's going to leave less hard lines. And then, of course, if you're a person that's like, I love to curl the hair or I put waves in the hair, it doesn't leave those dents as well. What product? Someone on YouTube was asking us, what product would you recommend for the fringe when they have thyroid dry hair? My personal favorite, if they have that really dry texture of hair, is to use either Redken's One United or to use Mizani's Miracle Milk. So one of those two are just one of my absolute favorites. Redken's One United or Mizani's Miracle Milk. So what we're doing now is we're coming through and just lightly flat ironing the hair in vertical sections and then combing it down. So what this is doing is helping us get this hair to start laying lean while we are flat ironing it. And I love this technique because you don't actually have to like clip the hair into so many sections to get full control of it. And again, just coming through vertically. Now, the key thing in a giant section like this is to elevate it off of the head first so that you don't create bumps in it. But then if you notice, immediately after flat ironing, I'm coming through and I'm combing it into place. So you can see now as we're starting to do this, that the hair is starting to lay flat. Now that you've got control of the roots, then now is the time for us to come through horizontally to help get that bend, but the verticals are so necessary to be able to get it to lay lean within wherever we are working. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come through and we're going to flat iron. Now, what I've learned is that it's scary when you're getting into someone's fringe area. So our combs at Sanvia are really awesome because they're heat resistant. So you can go through and get that comb really close up to the scalp. That is going to be our barrier. And then we're going to come through and tap, tap, tap. That's going to get to the root of the hair. And then we can bevel. You can see how that has a nice pop to it so that we can get control. Going to come in with another section. And now, because we don't want to create any volume in the hair, we're going to keep that elevation as low as possible. So again, just comb is there for protection and security, make me feel better that I'm not going to hurt my client. And then you're going to follow right behind to be able to get control and to get everything to tuck under. Awesome. Awesome. Hi, Ali. I'm so glad that you're here from Belize. Everyone, drop into the chat. Where are you from? I'm hanging out here in Tampa, Florida, where we finally had a Halloween that had decent weather. Like my daughter didn't sweat out of her costume for the first time, I think, in her entire 10 years of, of existence. So perfect. So we're going to come through and we're going to flat iron. Now, if you're sitting here and you're like, Blake, hurry up, you are going too slow when you're flat ironing. The biggest thing I've learned in ironing, friends, is to slow down to speed up. And I think we hear that a lot in our industry, but really what that means is when I'm going through and I'm flat ironing, that means that the hair is being able to actually get the heat on it long enough to style it so that I don't have to go over it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. That if I do it just slow enough, it's gonna get the job done. Same thing whenever you're blow drying. I think every hairstylist on earth has been has been guilty of this, which is going in and we're shaking our blow dryer aggressively. Someone made this joke a long time ago, and it always stuck with me. It's like, this is playing a hairstylist on TV. Actual hairstylists will go nice and slow. So the reason why I think so many of us go in and start shaking our blow dryers so much is because we're afraid of getting the heat on the hair. But remember what we shared with you earlier, which is we need to make sure that we are always moving the blow dryer. If the blow dryer is always moving, then we're going to be able to avoid hurting our guests by burning their scalp. Keep the blow dryer moving, you're going to be good to go. The why behind that is if the dryer stays on the hair long enough, you are going to be able to get the hair dry. If the airflow is moving back and forth a ton, the hair isn't going to be able to get dry. So it's a big thing. And I know someone amazing like Andrew or Sam or someone shared that with me early on in my career as an educator, and it's been a game changer in saving time. So just keep that air onto the hair and you'll be good. Shaking it is just going to cause more time for us. Perfect. Awesome. I see so many friends here. I said Hawaii, Florida. Hi, Ireland, Manchester. Hi, Pammy, coming from Tampa, Albuquerque, Calgary. Awesome. It's so great to see everyone here. Okay. Wow, that's really crazy. So we're going to finish up this section in terms of styling just so that we can get under control. So we're just going to flat iron that into place. And really, just when you're styling fringe area, it's good to share these tips and tricks. I teach cosmetology now and I instruct my students to say the exact same thing: slow down to speed up. Thank you, Michelle, because as a person who trains people who are fresh out of cosmetology school, I thank you, because it's one of the first things I'm like, sit down, welcome to the salon. Here's how we need to blow dry. Here's how to properly blast dry the hair. Here's how to get fringe under control. The sooner we can learn that, the more successful we'll be, because, Michelle, like, it's one of those things. Blow drying can take so much time. So if we can do these little things to help speed up. So that's our little girly here. We'll have a technique on her in a little bit. She's going to head to her green room because now it's time to talk about hair color. Earlier, we talked about placement within fringe areas and really understanding how everything is going to flow together. And one of the big things that I've learned whenever it comes to hair color is understanding placement and where everything's going to fall. So placement's number one. The second thing is understanding contrast, meaning how light and dark are the pieces that I'm doing in hair color going to be together. Mageli, thank you so much for being here. What's cool is that you'll be able to come back onto YouTube or Facebook and rewatch it. So make sure you stay subscribed here to the Samvia Facebook channel or to our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch it as many times as you want, actually, which is really great. So thanks for joining us. I'm glad that you're here. So what we're going to jump into talking about now, of course, is hair color and its role within fringes, because I think I thought I understood how hair color fell for a really long time, because there's basically 4 different types of stitches that we do whenever we're highlighting the hair. The first one is a slice. So that's when we come through and when we're highlighting the hair and we take a slice of the hair, and we don't leave it at all. So if I put this into a foil, how is this going to fall? So that's a slice. The second one is going to be a slice skip slice or a chunky weave. So just, you're coming through, and when you're highlighting, you're like, I want to see some bold contrast. Another one that we have is a regular stitch, which is not quite as intense as a slice skip slice, but it's not like a baby light either. So you're going to come in and you're going to have your regular. And then the last but not least is a micro stitch, or what we've been calling it in the past like 5 or 6 years, which is a baby light or a microweave. So it's one of those things where we have these 4 different options in what we're doing and in terms of where we're placing it. When it comes to fringe area, because this is the area that frames the face, we need to understand how is the hair color going to fall. Well, I'm going to take it to the side so we can get a visual of just impact of hair color. Because what I want you to see is if I'm coming through and I'm highlighting the hair, and if I put a slice right on top of that part, do you see how you're going to be able to get maximum impact? Because this would be representative of a slice. I just took some extensions, thinned them out just a little bit so they weren't quite as thick as the left. But if we're coming through, you can see how a horizontal slice is going to have maximum impact. Now think about if we were to take this and you do a slice right at that high point of the head, right where the fringe starts, comb the hair together, and how you're going to have maximum impact. Now, what's great about this is the fact that it is less work. And what I realized is we spent so much time as colorists working within our fringe area and not really thinking what is maximum impact. Well, if I need a really bright blonde bang, then I need to do some slices through the bang area, because I know that if I do a horizontal slice, it's going to fall forward, giving me full coverage. Where I see a lot of people spend so much time doing it is that we're doing all these little micro weaves as we're starting to foil through here, and then we're not getting the impact that we're looking for. So this would be like a horizontal slice. Now, let me grab my friend the microweave. Now, do you see how you still get impact, a microweave or a baby light, but it's not going to be as high of an impact as if we went through and sliced it. So it's really important to know the difference between the ones that you're selecting, because this really impacts, there we go, good visual, how we're going to choose to foil through the hair. Now, if your guest wants like minimal dimension, microweave it up. But if your guest is looking for a bright, bold fringe area, then we need to go through and do some slices through that top area and right through the fringe. Some of the other things that we really need to take in consideration is something that's called contrast. So type the word contrast into the chat to lock in the learning. Contrast. And basically what contrast is the difference between lightness and darkness on the hair. So in this situation, we have a darker base with a light highlight. This would be considered high contrast. If this blonde wasn't quite so bright and it was darker, then that would be lower contrast. So it's really important to understand, because wherever there's light, your eye is going to travel there first. So wherever there's light, your hair is going, or your eye is going to travel there first. So when we're thinking about someone who's really want to make a bold statement, maybe they really want to draw attention to their fringe area, then you can tell them, okay, great. We're going to go through and we're going to do a high contrast fringe color placement for you, because your eye is going to travel there. So just see the difference now is like you throw in some highlights and you can see, wow, this is really awesome. Your eye is going to the fringe area first. Now, one of our friends earlier shared with us, like, hey, what do I do with someone that has really thin hair? then the key is to really make sure that you leave depth underneath, so darkness. Wherever there's darkness, it looks like a shadow. And wherever there's a shadow, it makes the hair look thicker. Um, Give me a yes in the chat if you've ever over highlighted somebody and made their hair look thinner, because I know that I've totally been there too. So the key is, if someone has thin hair right within their fringe area, you need to leave some darkness underneath. And then, because if their hair's thinner on top, you need to leave some depth on top as well, which is where we can come through with something like a micro highlight and just get a little bit of highlight happening underneath here. Just going to use my little clip here. So that you can get some dimension to pop through, but it's not going to be super intense. Dark on top, dark underneath, so that you can make the hair appear thicker. Yeah, totally. And then you're right, Katie. Katie's saying, like, everyone's wanting these money pieces, but we need to leave some depth. So I saw a friend say, where did it go? Oh, Magali, could you slightly tease and then like a weave, if not shadow rooting? 100%. You've got the idea, because it's sometimes about leaving the depth at the scalp, and then the brightness only need to be on the end. So I'm going to use the side of the hair for an example for this. So you could totally leave depth at the scalp and just letting these highlights show through on throughout the rest of the hair, so that it will show up. You can even bring it down further. If you did a teasy light, it would be a lot more further down, so that you can get that contrast without sacrificing depth at the scalp area. So you're totally right there with us. I love that. Yeah. So, and then how many slices would I put? Afif, thank you so much for that question. It's all depending on how high impact you want it to be. So if you have a guest that really wants their bangs really, really bright, I've literally had guests where I just bleach out their whole front bang area, because that's how bold they want it to be. For a more natural approach, all you need to do is think about their density. If their bangs are only this thick, you could probably get away with 2 slices right through here, and you're going to be able to get really high impact color without having to do 10 million foils in that area. If they have a really thick fringe like this mannequin does, then you're probably going to be able to get away with probably 4 or 5 foils to be able to cover your bang area. So there's so many different ways that we can approach it in terms of placement. What we're going to do is we're going to go through and do a foiling technique where we're going to drop out the underneath, because I think that where we're at as colorists is we are working way too hard. We are coloring hair like it is going out of style. We're putting 10 million foils in people, and what we're sacrificing is time on our books for other clients. So what we need to do is work smarter, not harder. I want you to think about the key areas on the head. And if you've hung out with me before, head shape is super, super important. Understanding where that change of direction is on the head. So if you're working with a fringe area, you can understand where the hair is going to fall, because this is great. Horizontal placement is going to give you nice blended in results. But what if your client's like, Blake, I want to see chunky highlights? Well, then that means when we go through and take placement, we need to come through and pivot off of the point to be able to get bold highlights. So it's one of those things that we really need to make sure that we understand head shape. So for this technique today, what I'm going to do is isolate the underneath of the hair to preserve darkness. Preserving darkness is really great because it makes the hair look thicker. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a horizontal slice here. And just so visually everybody can see, and the horizontal slice goes from the corner of the eye to the corner of the eye, just like a fringe. you can see right through there, that is what we're going to isolate. We're going to leave this dark. It's okay. Contrast is in. Leave it dark. Then we're going to start our highlights right above that line. So we're going to come through and we are going to get started with our actual color application. Now, in the fringe area, my preferred lightener is Redken's Blonde Icing. The reason why I like that lightener is because it really makes the hair feel healthy. And if you take that lightener and you add your favorite bonder to it, you have just a recipe for success in terms of hair health. The hair around the fringe area is extremely, extremely sensitive in most cases. So that's why we want to have our irons and blow dryers on a medium to low heat setting. And then we want to make sure that our lighteners are very mild. So that means that I'm not going to go in there and blast the hair with lighteners that lift 8, 9, 10 levels. I've even seen some lighteners make these claims. The other thing too is that when we're thinking about working harder, or smarter, not harder, we need to think about our foils and how we're going to make them. So I'm just going to take these foils and making them smaller so that it'll be easier for the technique. Perfect. What if she wears her hair away from the face? How is your placement? Yeah, it's one of those things. Thank you for that question. It's all about reading the hair. So if they have a deep side part, I will totally take that in consideration. If the part is on, just say this far side over here, then I know that for it to visually be balanced, I need more color on the heavy side of the part than the shallow side. So that means deep side part over here. Let's give a pointer. Deep side part over here. Then I need more color. So that means I need to do more foils on the deep side than the shallow side for it visually to be balanced. So yeah, that means like when we're coloring the hair, we really need to make sure that we understand that if there is visual balance, and visual balance means that there's not an equal amount of foils on one side than the other. So we're going to come through and get started. One of the hard things about foiling short hair I found is trying to slice and weave. So what I've done is I've already taken my parting and I'm going to pick up my section right off of the part. So we're going to bring her in here. So I'll do it one more time for you. I'm not taking a slice and then weaving it. I'm just picking up the hair that I want to see get highlighted. Again, this is where you can have a principle-based approach to your foiling while also being a visual creative colorist. So we're going to come through. I also like using the Samvia tail combs because I don't know about you, but I've accidentally stabbed guests in the past while foiling. So this is great because it's not very pointy. It's plus. It has that carbon softness to it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come through. And because we're in the fringe area, the key thing is to take 2 seconds and you're going to take your pinky finger and your thumb and you're going to get that foil to wrap around the head form. The reason why you want to go through and do that is because it's really going to help make sure that that foil stays tight so that when you go to fold the foil, it doesn't slip on you. Perfect. So now we're going to come through with our lightener. I'm using conditioner in this situation, but my favorite lightener for fringes is Blonde Icing. You can get it at Salon Centric or State RDA or wherever you get your Redken products. And then we're going to come through and I'm going to place my lightness on a diagonal. Now notice the brush that I'm reaching for. This is a Framar narrow long brush. So what I'm doing first is I'm placing my lightener on a diagonal facing towards the center. And then I'm going to take my lightener and also place it towards the edges as well on another diagonal. Now, if you notice that entire time I kept high tension on the hair, and that's for control. Then all I need to do is do these long strokes to get it to blend out. So if you're like, why? Oh yeah, I already see it. Cat's like, oh, Blake, why did I do those diagonals? I want you to think about her. I'm gonna get this into a foil so I can play dramatic. We're gonna come through and we're gonna fold it twice. It's okay. We're just getting it out of the guest's face. So we're gonna come through and we're gonna leave some depth in between for this section. We're gonna come in and we're gonna weave. Now I saw a question on there, like when do I weave towards the scalp, when do I weave away from the scalp? When I'm in the fringe area, I weave at the scalp, and when I want the highlights to be injected into the scalp or as close to the scalp as possible, I weave at the scalp. When I want it to be like teasy lights and soft, I'll weave off of the scalp. But in this case, we want these foils to go pretty close to the scalp area. So I'm just going to pick up right at the scalp. That was a great question. Now back to our friend Kat, who is like, Blake, why are we doing it? Yeah, you're right. You're not going to get root lines, Kat. The other thing is to make sure, and remember to get that foil locked in. When I'm foiling, what I used to do in the past is I would go through and I would lay down a horizontal line. So I would come in, let me do it a little bit more dramatic so you can see it. I would lay down a horizontal line and then I would spend forever blending it. So I'd be like, now put a heart into the chat if this is you or ever has been you, is you end up spending 10,000 years trying to blend out that color, because I know that I've been there before. So what I want us all to start thinking about is when we're coloring, and if we're looking to create soft lines, then we need to immediately make our jobs easier for ourselves by placing our color on a diagonal. So again, we're just weaving at the scalp area, picking up some hair, and then we're going to lock that in. So what I want you to think about is horizontals versus diagonals. What is a harder line? Horizontals or diagonals? Because what I've learned as you're all typing your answers is that diagonals are softer, meaning that when we go through and we are making sure that we are trying to create softness, diagonals are going to make our jobs easier. What I used to do is I would slap a horizontal line in there and then spend forever trying to blend it out. And listen, this isn't just about fringe coloring, guys. This is also about just speeding up whenever we're doing foils. If you get a nice little diagonal line on there, it's going to be a lot easier to blend out. So yeah, exactly. I hope this is helpful for all of you, because it's one of those really huge things that we need to pay attention to on how we can speed up as we're coloring. And again, it's all about little intentional decisions. Notice I'm using a small, narrow brush when I'm working in a small, narrow area. So this brush, my friends, is my detailing brush. So I go in and when I'm working on the details of the hair, and then I'll use my normal, like wide, long brush when I'm working on big masses of hair. Just like when we're cutting hair and we're switching shears out for different techniques, your color brushes are the same way. We just need to switch them out for different types of things. Do you do diagonal switch like on this, on one in the opposite? Totally. You can do one in one direction, one in the other. The goal really is just about creating variety, and just so that when you go to blend out the fringe area or the lines, whenever you're working in the fringe area, it'll be a huge help for you. How do you do foils close up to the scalp? I've got you, Kat. Don't worry about that. Let's talk about that. I'm going to switch the mannequin around so we can talk about that. So the big things in terms of getting foils really close to the scalp. We're going to get her on her side. The biggest thing is to understand the thickness of the foil that you're working with. So the section that you're working with. Your section should be no thicker than something that you can read like a text message through, watch a TikTok video through, or for my old school friends, how we were taught to read a newspaper through. Whatever your style is, but you don't want to make sure it's too thick, because if the section is too thick, immediately the density at the scalp area is going to prevent you from locking in that foil. So that's part one, is making sure that your section is thin enough to read something through, whatever your style is. I prefer, and the big thing too is the thinner the section, the higher the lift, because the saturation is going to increase. So therefore your foils will also process faster if you take smaller sections instead of waiting around forever or trying to use heat. The other thing is, when I'm going in to lock in my foil, instead of folding outward, I'm going to fold down here, make sure that the lip is underneath. That's the second thing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to elevate that hair up and around the head form when we're foiling. And then we're going to get our foil right to the part line, to wherever we want it to be. And then we're going to wrap the hair around so that it is snug around the foil. And then now I'm going to slowly drag my foil comb out so that I'm tracing the part line so that the foil can get all the way snug up into the hair. Yeah, you've got this, Kat. It's one of those things. The last part in terms of making sure that your foils are tight is, notice my tension is high on the ends of the hair. So that means that I'm going to come up and I'm going to creep up towards the edge of the scalp, or edge of the foil, and I'm going to leave about a 1/16 of an inch, just in case if my lightener expands. And then I'm going to work from there. And then your foil. And then if you're like, oh my gosh, my foil is slipping, you're going to come through and you're going to lift your foil up. You're going to take your color brush and drag it down. And then you're going to be good to go. Yeah, it's one of those things that is really good. And then Christina, for balayage, yeah, diagonals are always going to be your best friend in terms of getting good placement. I hope that's what you're asking about. If not, I hope that helps you get your foils locked in tight. But now that we're coming to the end of this, I want to know, what is your biggest takeaway from today? I want to hear what your biggest takeaway is about styling, and then what is your biggest takeaway when it comes to coloring? Because it's so exciting to be able to share stuff like this with all of you. Listen, if you haven't yet, I'm actually host of a new podcast, and it is called Sum It Up. That's SUMMITUP. And it's a new podcast where we talk about all things hair, business, and things like that. Sum It Up podcast. It's available wherever you can get your podcasts. We have new episodes coming out every 2 weeks. So I would love to see all of you come check us out on wherever you listen to podcasts, and we can have a chat there. If not, we can connect on Instagram is there. So while we're doing this, let's take some last few questions. So you're sweeping your brush at an angle so it creates a softer line. Yeah, you've got it, Kat. It's one of those things where when you place your color on the foil, you want to come in and place it on a diagonal. This line is immediately easier to blend out versus if we traditionally go in and put in a horizontal, and then we have to spend a little bit more time trying to blend it out. So I hope that helpful. Rosa, make sure you just come back to the Samvia channel to come check out with us and see the replay, because it'll live here forever. So you can totally see it. What's up, Andrew?
Yeah, great class. I love how you kind of took us through the whole adventure of face framing too, from the blow dry. So if you guys missed right when Blake first started, he shared some great blow drying tips with us, and then moving into the fringe with the color techniques. And I think we got a lot in this quick 45 minutes, Blake.
Yeah, thank you. And if you're like, hey Blake, how did you cut the fringe on the brunette? I'll have a TikTok video and Instagram reel coming out this week where I walk through on how to cut the fringe, so we can connect on TikTok or Instagram at Blake Reed Evans. But the big thing, guys, is like when you're styling, like think about your foils and your placement, think about head shape, and then think about your tools. Like this sleeker iron is so great because it's only 1 inch wide, so that when you're going through and you're flat ironing the hair, it can get into those narrow areas, and then it's also rounded on the edges so it doesn't leave hard lines. It's these little things that lead to big things, I found.
That's right. Little things lead to big things. Blake Reed Evans. Awesome. Well, thank you so very much. Like Blake said, please go and give him a follow on all of his social channels, because Blake offers tons of great education through his social channels. And, you know, on the social note, he is an amazing teacher as far as how to work with your social channels. So definitely go give him a follow. You will gain a lot. We promise.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Blake.
much, Andrew. And everyone, watch that video. So make sure that all of your social media channels are super safe. And I have a whole video on how to secure your pages, because a lot of Instagram accounts have been hacked lately. So we want to stay safe on social media. So thanks for bringing that up.
Cool. Thanks, Blake.